At the end of the day, it comes down to the bookkeeping. And this happens no matter whether I'm preparing a tax return or whether I'm doing IRS rep or fraud cases. It's always at the end of the day, without the good bookkeeping, we have nothing. And that's what I've learned over this 23 years.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our guest is a certified public accountant, certified fraud examiner, and CEO of Powerful Accounting, LLC. Plus, she's the author of The Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals, and she is considered to be one of the most powerful women in the accounting industry. Dawn Brolin, welcome to the show.
Michael, I can't thank you enough for having me on. I just think what you're doing for the industry out there and helping get information out, helping encourage bookkeepers and accountants the same. And I'm just really honored to be here. Love your podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to have you and finally get you on the show, which is it's been too long. So we're happy to have you and honored to have you. So let's start off with letting our guests know a little bit more about you. I opened it up. You're like one of the most powerful women in the accounting industry. Tell us how you became to be that.
Well, so everybody has an interesting journey. I think we all have such great stories about where we've come from and where we are right now and where we plan to go. And certainly mine is a unique story, as everyone's is. Knew when I was 16, I wanted to be an accountant. I knew my first and only class in high school, they put a packet down and said, "You're a business owner. Now we're going to do the accounting." And it all just made such good sense to me. I was like, this is logical. I can roll with this. Went to college, got my degree, and then decided it would be smart to manage a package store, because that's what you should do after college, is take that accounting degree and apply it with liquor. So that was kind of the first start of what I was doing. And then I had a couple kids, and the man who was building an in-law apartment for my parents said, "Hey, Dawn, you have an accounting degree. You want to do my books?" And I was like, "Sure, I could probably do that. I've got two kids under 2. That sounds like fun." And so that's where Powerful Accounting began back in 1999. And so it actually is 23 years this summer, which
Wow.
is super fun. But the journey's been crazy, Michael, to put it lightly. Went from starting a bookkeeping business. That was the first thing I did. And you know what I did? Everything. I did payroll. I did sales tax. I did bookkeeping. I did paid bills for people. You name it, I was going to do it, because I was going to be a millionaire and I was going to do my own bookkeeping business. And it was awesome. And then I realized that I kind of wanted to partner up with somebody so that I could learn about the tax world. Not that I necessarily wanted to do taxes, but I just want to learn it. And so I joined a partnership. I was in that for 6 years and 3 months. Didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, but I certainly learned about the person I wanted to be and the person I didn't want to be. And I learned about the things I wanted to do and didn't want to do. And so that's when really Powerful Accounting, I'll say, was reborn, and in 2011. And that was really where I think my life changed, honestly, in the accounting world.
Wow. And so that change, what drove you to making that change?
It was really one of the key pieces was one of my partners that had told me when I was in this partnership that I could never be a tax preparer. I could never pass the CPA exam. I was not smart enough. And so I took that, and if anyone knows me, I'm into athletics. I don't look like I am these days, but I certainly have been my whole life. And everything's a competition. All you have to do is challenge me, and I'm going to make it happen, whatever it takes. And so I realized, okay, you know what? I am going to go pass that CPA exam. And then I joined back up with a colleague. He's a tax attorney, Eric Green. Not sure if you've ever heard of Eric. He's a phenomenal giver to the accounting industry of his knowledge of IRS representation. And so I joined up with Eric. I passed the CPA exam and found out what my passion really was around in the industry of accounting. And that was IRS representation, fraud work, because I knew I wanted to protect small business owners from theft, from embezzlement and things like that. But the IRS representation and being able to help someone get out of a really bad situation became exactly what I wanted to do. And off and running I went.
So cool. And so how has that unfolded since 2011?
It's been amazing, to be honest with you. I've realized that the most important part of the accounting industry and what the accountants can do for the small business owner is bookkeeping. At the end of the day, right now, I'm thriving with IRS representation work. I have a case going on right now. I'm real excited. Got to go tomorrow down to their office and go through a whole bunch of stuff and just try to help them save themselves from their woes, I guess. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the bookkeeping. And this happens no matter whether I'm preparing a tax return or whether I'm doing IRS rep or fraud cases. It's always at the end of the day, without the good bookkeeping, we have nothing. And that's what I've learned over this 23 years.
Wow. Foundational.
Without it, it's really, we can't get an accurate tax return. A business owner can't, plan and do financial planning and analysis to be successful in their business and follow something like the profit first that Michael Michalowicz came up with, and being able to help them exceed and excel and be profitable in their business without the books being in order in a timely manner, not once a year. Without that, our business owners are fooling themselves, and you're not going to be successful out knowing what is working for you and what's not working for you. And the numbers tell a story.
It's so true. And, there's so many business owners out there that have no clue that this is the case. And that's the job that our industry, yourself, all our listeners need to continue to educate them. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a tough conversation, sit down conversation with a business owner to really set just exactly what you've said, because otherwise it's such a harder grind for them with a higher likelihood of no payoff at the end, which is really sad.
Yeah, you're totally spot on with that. And I think one of the key things, and we've been talking about this for years, I think, is that a lot of times the business owner doesn't see the value in the bookkeeping. Like, they don't really see value in tax return preparation either. Really, it's just a necessary evil that they don't want to do and they don't want to pay for and they don't want to pay taxes. The bookkeeping industry, and I think, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that those of us who are at the end game, the CPA, everyone think, the CPA, so, fancy and all this other stuff. And they're the only ones who really know anything about accounting. And they get into this mindset that I think the CPAs themselves need to do a better job of saying, hey, listen, John, Joe, Mary, Sally, without your bookkeeper, I can't do my job. They're actually the ones who are on the front line. Those are the people who are actually getting the job done for you, the most important job done for you. So we need to do a better job of educating our business owners to say, hey, listen, don't think my value is any more than the bookkeeper, because at the end of the day, without them, you're out of business. And that's just the way I feel about it.
Love it. And, for our listener, hold your head high, walk into the business owner's world, life. It could be virtual, it could be bricks and mortar, who knows, but walk into their world with your head held high and deliver that message. And I think the message comes from really getting to understand what their pains and their challenges are, and then communicate how you really help them, and share Don's story, share Don's message. We need to get business owners to really get this, because when they do, then they can get into a better place. And now, not every bookkeeper is armed to actually do that. And that's what we're all about. And you're about as well, Don, is helping them. Mike Michalowicz is helping train bookkeepers. They do great work, but also be able to have really powerful conversations with business owners like we're having right now.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, it's like, I thought that the pandemic would have done a better job, and maybe I just don't have my thumb on the pulse of it, but I thought it was going to do a better job for the business owners to see how valuable the bookkeepers are, because at the end of the day, people needed the PPP loans. Guess what they needed? Good financials. They needed to be able to prove, whether employees were laid off and what were they paying people in the different periods and all this stuff. None of that, not one penny of that money would have been distributed to small business owners without bookkeepers, period.
Yeah.
And so I really thought the pandemic was going to do something different in that venue, if you will.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, I get it. It's head in the sand, focus on other things. That's what we're up against. And whilst it's always good to say, "Oh, I wish it was easier or wish it was better," the fact that it's difficult makes it an opportunity for the ones that are willing to stand up and figure out a way. So we don't want it too easy, otherwise everybody's going to be doing it, right? so
Right.
I agree with you, and I just, being an entrepreneur myself, business owner, I get it. I get where they're at. We're all busy people. We're trying to do our thing, and so the better we can communicate this message, the better it will become. And I think it's also just historical stuff that people are dealing with. They don't even know. They haven't been trained. It's not done in school. So business owners grow up and go through any kind of education or life. They're being passed on this kind of almost false myth story that you just go and you do the business. You start here, where they don't pay attention to the finances. I mean, go back to that course that you did when you're like, okay, everybody, we're going to start a business. Probably 90% of the class was just like focused on, let's get some sales. Let's go get some, and you were like, let's get the finances.
Yeah,
Like, this is where it's all at right here.
absolutely.
So very cool. Well, I'd love to know in your journey, I'd love to know what have been some of the big aha moments for you over the last 23 years.
For me, I think it's you mentioned that I wrote that book, Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals. And I think for me, realizing that, I've always been somebody who I feel can fight through anything. I can, if someone says no, I'm like, well, we're going to figure out how it's going to be a yes. And that's been kind of my own internal drive. And that I've just always had that as, being an athlete and having that team atmosphere and fight for anything. For me, one of the biggest aha moments is seeing other practitioners struggling and realizing that our community is more important than I ever thought it was before. When I first started, there weren't really conferences. If there were conferences, I didn't know anything about them. And then when I was in this partnership, I didn't realize that there were these conferences because my partners never wanted to spend a penny to go anywhere. And so I think that was probably the biggest eye-opening thing when we actually did go to one conference. We went to, it was when Doug Sleater was doing his conferences way back in the day, and my eyes opened to a whole new world. And I think that for a lot of us to get out and go to a conference and get around other people very well may change your life. And I say that because some of my greatest friends I've met through the accounting industry. And so for me, my big aha was there's so much more to the profession when you get out and become part of the profession. And that means, whether it means going to a conference, whether it's joining a webinar, whether it's whatever it may, even just hooking up with a local couple accounting professionals and going out and having dinner and hearing their stories have really helped me in the thought process of I'm not in this alone. So, myself for a long time being a sole practitioner, then having employees and then being in a partnership and then being out of a partnership, I realized that there were other people out there that could help me grow as a person. And so because of that, I want to pass that on to other accounting professionals to say, hey, listen, you're not in this alone. If you're struggling with something, reach out to someone, listen to podcasts, right? So Michael's got an amazing podcast. Listen to Mike McAllowitz, listen to Appy Hour. There's Cloud Accounting with David Leary. There's so many people that are out there offering out information take advantage of those opportunities. And that was a really big game changer for me as I was going through, the process over the last 23 years.
So true. So true. And I love that story. And so many people have no idea what is out there, and you can't find out until you go out there. So I love that. And so many opportunities more and more now than ever to do it virtually, to do it in person, and so many options, like you said, podcasts, events, webinars, workshops, all sorts of great stuff happening in the industry, which is really cool. What about mistakes? What were some of the big ones that you made along the way?
Wow. We don't have that kind of time, Michael. We'd be here for a heck of a long time if I would tell you.
We'd have to do like a multi-series.
Yeah, this would probably be a daily, year-long documentary of some kind. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, when I first started out, I did everything. Listen, I could say what I kind of felt like I was. Let's just say I did everything as in the accounting, bookkeeping area, and realize that that's not always the best choice. So for me, being an expert in payroll or being an expert in sales tax or being an expert in an area takes a lot of work and a lot of knowledge and a lot of education to do that. And because of that, things fell through the cracks. I made a lot of mistakes on sales tax returns. I made a lot of mistakes on payroll. When I hired people, I made a lot of mistakes. When I hired someone for one job, they started doing that job, and then I made them do 10 other things, and they quit because they weren't doing the things they wanted to do. So made a lot of mistakes with hiring, made a lot of mistakes as I went on into some of the decisions I was making as far as taking on clients. So, I think one of the biggest challenges I had was trying to figure out what I really wanted to do, and finally discovered IRS representation, and then realized, you know what? I don't want to do international tax returns. You know what? I don't want to do regular bookkeeping anymore. You know why? Because I don't think I'm that good at it. I think I just don't have the attention to detail that it really, really requires on an ongoing basis. So, I realized when someone would call and they would say, like, even now, today, let's even just say today, I had a new client referral come over, and have some international tax base. And I said, you know what? Send this to my friend Sean, let him take care of that. That is not my strength. And I think that was probably the biggest stumbling blocks I made were decisions on work I was going to do when I really honestly wasn't quite qualified to do it. Mm-hmm. And once you realize what you love to do, you get really good at it, and you can charge a lot more money for it. And I think, as I went through the process, that was probably the biggest stumbling blocks were either around employees or around the work I decided to do.
I love that. I was actually literally just having a conversation with a friend and client. She's been on the podcast many times, Nancy Gwen Vaughn, and she was just after this last tax season. It was a real tough one, and she wrote down a list of everything she didn't like about how it went. And so now over the next year, she's gonna take each one of those things and figure out how to do it better or do it different. And for you really over your career, found out what you didn't want to do so that you could highlight the things that you did want to do. I absolutely love that. I would think if every listener right now did just that, said, look, what are the things I'm not liking about my business? Don't have to do anything with it, but at least it sheds some light on what you don't like and what you do like about your business.
And that's one of the reasons I wrote that book. The Reassess Your Success portion of that book is exactly everything like that. Think about the top 5 clients you love to work with. I bet you could list them off right off the top of your head. These are the 5 I love, and here are the reasons why I love to work with this particular client. Same thing with services. Reassess your success. What are you doing? What are you providing for services? What's your menu today? What is the price for that menu today? And if I said to you, I'm going to wave a magic wand, as soon as you decide the things you love to do and what you really want to charge for real, I'll wave the wand, and that's how it shall be. And the great part about it is everyone who is working for themselves, you can give yourself the right to do that. You give yourself the permission to say, you know what? I don't want to do payroll anymore. So I'm going to refer out my payroll, in whatever that looks like for you. And so that reassess your success and starting to figure out how to enjoy your life along with your career is also extremely important. And that is probably one of the biggest aha moments I had in 2019.
Mm. Wow. So the book, Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals, this is a chapter, Reassess Your Success.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yes, that's correct. It's reassess your success. Absolutely.
And this is a chapter in the book. Tell us a little bit more about the book. I know we've mentioned it a few times. You've gone a little bit into it, but tell us about the title, the name, why you chose it, and why you wrote the book.
Well, this will be a fun story. So my aha moment in 2019 was when I decided I would volunteer coach as an assistant at Eastern Connecticut State University for women's softball with a former teammate of mine. She's the head coach. We won a national championship way back in the day, back in 1990. And she said, Brolin, why don't you come coach with me? I think you could have a real impact on these kids. And I said, well, Pep, it's tax season, right? During softball season, like, hello? This is, I'm busy. I'm a busy girl. And she said, oh, come on. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? Well, why can't I? I work for myself. I own my own business. I'm a hard worker. I can get things done. So I did just that. The team happened to be a 500 team. They were less than 500 the year before. Same kids all coming back. So the kids are thinking, oh, let's just try to break 500. Let's try to win 600% of our games or 60% of our games. And I was like, I'm in the wrong room. That's not how I roll. We're either going for it or we're not doing it, right? What is this all about? That same team came back and came in third in the country. Wow. So understanding the role of someone who can be a designated motivator that can really have a serious interest in a human being and pull out their greatest potential. And so I wrote the book called The Designated Motivator, because when they gave me my bag tag, it said volunteer assistant. I'm like, that is not my title. Like, I am not rolling with that. So I gave myself the name, The Designated Motivator, before I even knew it was a thing. And I took that experience and I took that naming of myself and said, wait a minute, I'm watching so many of my colleagues in pain, suffering. If you look on social media, they don't want to do accounting anymore. People are mean. People are just depressed and like can't get it together for whatever reason. I said, well, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to write a book for just the accounting profession because I love them. I love my peers. I love my colleagues, and I want everyone to be successful. I don't believe there's competition in our industry. I think all there is are people working really hard, getting really good at what they love to do, and having success. And so I wrote the book, and in the book is, again, the reassess your success. What do you love? What you don't want to love? And then what are you going to do to change your life in a way that can be positive for you and people around you? And so I figured out how to run my firm in a capacity that I work 30 hours a week, 35 during tax season. I get crazy and work an extra 5. But for the most part, I'm able to go and coach at this college and not miss games. I go on spring trips with them. I do all this stuff while I still run a successful practice. And that's because of the technology I've implemented. And so in the book, I talk about the various technologies. I'm actually working on a rework right now because I've added a bunch of stuff since I wrote that book to help people like break through the technology and what can work for you instead of you working so hard for it. And so that's what the book is really about, is encouraging practitioners to reassess their technology, their tech stack, reassess, what their employees are doing or not doing. And certainly pricing is a whole nother thing. And I'm not a pricing expert. All I know is I charge a lot of money because if I'm going to have my
That's good pricing. I like that pricing model.
Is that not bad?
It's a pretty good one. I like it.
It's good. If I'm going to be in this seat, Michael, I better be making money.
I love it.
And I'm only charging the prices I'm charging because I know I can get the work done efficiently, effectively, and successfully for the client. So I have no problem charging. We're up to $400 an hour now for IRS representation work. We charge $150 an hour for bookkeeping. That's just it. I don't care what we're doing for you. If my bookkeeper is handling stuff for you, it's $150 an hour. I don't care if she's making a phone call about an invoice. That's irrelevant to me. What she can do for you is priceless, really. But we'll stop the price at $150. And tax returns, I'm priced fairly high. I don't think I'm the highest, but I'm I'm just ready to make money and I'm going to live life at the same time.
I love it.
I want everyone to do that, Michael. Everyone.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. And I think you for our listener right now, it's like in my opinion, the reason why you're able to charge a lot is because you believe it. You own it. You want it. And it's all in your head. And that's as simple as it gets, is that if you believe it can be, it will be. And, maybe not putting people on Mars is maybe a big stretch, but charging a heck of a lot of money for your bookkeeping services and the work that you do, not going to Mars, not even the moon, right? It's not even out of this hat. It's like just kind of jumping, maybe an extra inch than you are right now. And this energy that you have and take on it is I get you totally are committed to it, believe it, making it happen. And if we could just download that out of your brain and download that into any listener, their prices would rocket because
Absolutely.
of that. So, I love the simplicity of it. There's a lot of techniques, there's a lot of strategies and all of that good stuff. And all those things are really important. The most important thing is the mindset.
The mindset is everything. And really, I do believe in value pricing. I think that is definitely something that people should be doing because of the nature of work that we do, like IRS representation and recreating books and doing this stuff. We have to charge by the hour because it's kind of like building or reconstructing a house. You tear the wall down, you don't know what's behind the walls. And so we can't value price when it comes to IRS rep work. But, we do have regular bookkeeping clients that we do charge on a value pricing basis. It has to make sense. For me, again, if I think you're right with the mindset conversation, Michael, it's really important for people to find a way to have the courage and the strength to change their mindset, to understand their value, and to give themselves permission to charge more. And here's just a transitional tip for you. So if you're somebody who's saying, yeah, I want to increase my pricing, but I've got this client and that client. When I first started changing my pricing, I started it with new clients. I didn't just go to my old clients and go, hey, I know you were paying, $100 an hour for bookkeeping. Now you're paying $150. That's not how it went. It was more of, I'm going to take any new client that I have come along, I'm going to start charging them the higher rate. Then I'm going to go back to my existing clients and say, hey, effective, September 1st or whatever you choose for a date, we're going to our pricing is going to increase, due to blah, 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 whatever. And those that see value in you will stay and they'll absorb the cost and they'll be fine with it. And for those that are picky pricing shoppers, you don't want them anyway. And so once you can get yourself that courage and that strength and that mindset, you could double your revenue without doubling your clients. See, I don't want to do twice as much work. I want to make more money doing less work. That's the mindset I think that we have to give ourselves permission to have.
I love it. I can tell why you're successful. Five key things. It's the same for every single person. You really embody them in this conversation. Number 1, burning desire. Mm-hmm. Number 2, belief. Number 3, commitment. Number 4, focus. And number 5, action. Mm-hmm. And so if for our listener right now that doesn't, is on the opposite end of where you're pricing and where you're at from a mindset perspective, you came out of the gate talking about, I'm going to build $1 million business, right? That's burning desire. That is like, what listener, what do you want so badly that it's burning in your belly? If you're not aware of that, that's a limitation, it's a limitation. And so then you get that figured out. It's going to be almost unbelievable. Absolutely. Did you believe, like, out of the gate, did you believe that it was possible to build $1 million business? What were your limiting beliefs when you were getting started?
Oh my goodness, this is so funny too. My husband and I actually talked about this. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. And we said, like, when I first started and I was starting to do this bookkeeping for this client, and it was $200 a month. I'm like, oh, Kevin, we're going to be millionaires. So totally. And then I got the second client and I was like, they're going to pay me $15 an hour. I said, I'm going to ask for 18. He's like, oh my goodness, there's no way you're going to get 18. Like that was a real serious conversation. And, starting at 15 an hour, then going to 25, I said to Kevin, I go, retire, buddy. We're going to be millionaires. We're going to be chilling, retired by 30, I was 28 at the time. So, we just had this limited mindset that the dollars were what drove the success. And it wasn't even that at all. It was once I had the confidence and I felt like I knew what I was doing, and it took me a long time to get there. This was not, overnight successes are not overnight. And I'm not saying I'm even a success. I'm just saying that in general, you go through this process, and once you have the confidence that, yeah, you know what, I'm really good at this. I'm a good bookkeeper, man. Somebody gives me a set of garbage books. I can clean those things up squeaky clean, and I'm good at it. I get it done quickly. I make a lot of tax preparers happy. I make a lot of clients happy. And if that's what you're feeling, then you should be the first person to change your pricing. If you're not saying that about yourself and you don't feel confident that you're sure that you're doing things, ask the person. If you're just doing bookkeeping, you're not doing tax returns, talk to the tax preparers for your clients. Say, hey, listen, am I doing a good job? Do are there mistakes, or you're seeing that you're getting a lot of journal entries back? Stop. Say, hey, listen, CPA, I'll pay you for an hour for you to sit down and show me how to make these changes. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? Now you're setting yourself up where that tax preparer is like, hey, this bookkeeper's serious. I've got some people I can refer to them because they're serious about what they do, and they want more help, and they want to be educated and learn more. That's where that will change for you. You'll start to change. But for those of you who are confident already, I challenge you to take whatever you're charging, maybe double it. I don't know. If you're charging $50 an hour, charge 100. Let's go.
Yeah, it almost needs to be where it's like it breaks the belief barrier and makes our listener uncomfortable. And that if you're not uncomfortable, then it's not enough,
right?
Because it's like a judgment that they're making on themselves, and the last person that should be making that judgment is the person that's doing the pricing, right? It's like you're pricing yourself. It's like if you're going to undervalue yourself. It's a human condition that we will undervalue ourselves and overvalue others. And so those questions are great. I love it. Go ask those people, how am I doing? What's right? If they all come back and say, you're doing great work. It's like double, triple,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
And so you're burning, to bring it back to burning desire. You had that burning desire, almost like crazy desire, and that's what had you bust up the beliefs, because you're like, oh, it's like, we're going to do this. We're going to find a way. Yes, we're going to be doing this. And you kept going, and you were like, you had these limiting beliefs, but you kept going, and that you busted them up. And so I really love this idea, even of just these simple couple of steps. Like, what are you really burning desire for? Go ask people what you're doing well, what you could do better at. That little exercise is going to open up an opportunity. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. And, I want to touch on what you were just saying about undervaluing. And I struggled with this for a long time until 7 years ago. I hired my executive assistant, I call her, because I'll tell you what, she should be the president of the world as far as I'm concerned. This woman is one of the kindest people I've ever met in a genuine way. And she changed a lot of things for me. And one of the things we did recently was, and within the last few years, is we implemented a quoting tool. That sounds really simple and elementary, but we implemented a quoting tool because of exactly that reason, Michael. I was undervaluing, even just 3 years ago, in my mind. And I would get into what I call emotional pricing. Emotional pricing is never good. It is never gonna go well for you. And the reason I say that is when you get on the phone with someone and you start to hear their story. I'll give you an example. I had a call with a client, a new client on Monday. I had already reviewed their return. We need to amend the return for various reasons. So we get on the phone. I already give her her price. The price happens. The quote goes out before I will ever talk to a person. And that is so important. I'll tell you why. And this is really good from a pricing perspective when you don't have to, you want to look at their books first, but you don't want to get into any big, difficult conversations before you price. This is, again, my opinion and the way I've been doing it over the last few years. Because when I got on the phone with them on Monday, her husband, 55 years old, came down with Alzheimer's last December. He was a former engineer. He's now home permanently. The wife has a job, but she is fully, their only goal in their entire life is for him to be able to stay at home for the rest of his life, however long that may be. And so they're trying to figure out, like, tax wise, what should we do for distributions, blah, 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 because they're not 59 and a half. And we're going through this conversation, but I can tell you what, how would you feel talking to someone like that and going, oh, you know what? They're going through a really difficult time and I feel so terrible. I'm going to give them a 50% discount because of how I felt about it. So because I looked at the return ahead of time and I was able to identify, there's two things we need to fix on this return. Here's an amended price at $750. If I'd have gotten on the phone with them, I probably would have charged them $375 or $400 because I felt bad. So taking the emotion out of your pricing is really important. And some people just, I'm sure there's people out there who have no emotion at all, if you know what I mean, right? It's just people, You're not an emotional person, that's okay. But if you are someone who has that conversation and starts to have this empathy, which there's nothing wrong with that a lot of times devalues ourselves by just our own devalue by saying, oh, well, I feel bad. I'm way better off than this person, so I should give them a break. And that's, I'm not saying that's the only way to look at it, but it's definitely a consideration as you're thinking about how you're pricing things and taking as much emotion out of it as you possibly can. And the quoting tool has changed it for me. That's, because I'm just, these are my prices, man. I don't know who you are, but these are my prices. Then I'm not saying you don't give discounts in the future, but just, you got to start the tone off the right way.
Well, it's not you pricing anymore. It's the calculator.
Exactly.
And that's a great thought. For a long time, I've thought of it as because any person that's a solo practitioner starting out, they're not pricing a business or pricing themselves. It's like, you're going to pay me to do this. And so one simple trick, which you're highlighting here, is it's like, what does the business need to price? It's not about you. It's not about what you feel or how you feel or the empathy that you feel. You can have all the empathy in the world. It's like, but the business isn't going to have empathy. Business Correct. Is going to look at, it's just going to be the numbers. It's like, this is what we do. It's like, if we're selling refrigerators, we can't sell them at half. Right? It's just, right? Otherwise we're like paying for their refrigerator. It's like, I'm going to pay you to keep your food cold. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just changing the context, which I love that you've done a calculator, simple as it needs to be, or complex, doesn't matter, but it's taking it out of you and keeping it very emotion free. I absolutely love that, because that is where many in this industry are caring people, lots of empathy. I think you have to be that to work in this industry, dealing almost like a psychologist working with business owners. And so to have something that takes that emotion out of it, lovely tip.
Yeah. And it's so funny too. The other thing I think of when you're thinking of pricing, and this just came to my head and I just want to make sure your listeners hear it just because it popped in there and I think you want it.
Let's do it.
So I don't know, it's really a kind of a sideways thing. I'm just going sideways on you, but think about you as a bookkeeper. You're getting a new client and you're going to look at their books and give them a price. Here's a tip. I tremendously encourage you to establish that relationship from the beginning to say, I'm going to review your books and I'm going to charge you $750 to do that. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to go through the books. I'm going to make a list of all the different things that need to be cleaned up, what needs to be done. And I'm going to give that back to you. Now you can choose to hire me to do the work that I've given you, or you can take that list. There's value in the list of things that are wrong in the books and say, here you go. You want to go somewhere else and price shop? Go for it. But these are the problems with your books. You make an easy $750 instead of, well, I know I've done this in the past, and maybe all your listeners are smarter than me. It's very, very possible. I was giving away free advice for a long, long time and going through books and saying, these are all the things that need to be fixed. Okay, well, I charge this, so you want to hire me? And they were like, I think that's too expensive. But now they've got a list to go fix everything. We got to stop that madness. So if you're someone who's doing that, stop now. It establishes your value right from the beginning. Yes, I can give you that list. It's going to be $750 for me to do it. You could also say, I'm going to do that for you. It's $750 up front. Figure out all the things that need to be done to clean it up and for the ongoing basis, the bookkeeping work. And I'm going to charge you $3,000 a month. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take that $750 and take it off the first month. then at least you're establishing that value from the beginning of the relationship. And I just really want to make sure your listeners heard that.
I love that one. And I imagine your conversion ratio so there'd be the conversion ratio to the basically paid diagnostic, and then the conversion ratio from a paid diagnostic to client. What do you think those ratios are for you?
We're probably, if I was to be totally honest, we're probably at 90%.
Yeah, it would be super high because number one, when you present such a clear offer, because a lot of times, like, decide, right? It's like people go in, it's like, okay, you're having sales conversation. This is what we do. And I need to go and look at this stuff or go over these things with you, but you still have to decide. You're actually putting the decision to work with you. It's being made very early.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this is great. What a great, you're actually selling security and certainty for $750. I'm going to do all of the work. I'm going to, figure it all out for you. You'll know exactly what you've got. And then that's costing $750. Take it, chop it around, whatever you want to do. So they're getting certainty and freedom and flexibility, and they're buying that with the $750. But then they work with you, they love you, and of course they're going to work with you, right? So
yeah, exactly.
You win the business out of the gate, and then you have a high conversion rate to a future client. And also, you're really self-selecting. It's like this triaging these clients out. They're self-selecting. If they're not going to do that, they're saying no. It's like you're done. You no wasted time, no need to work with them. And it's probably the type of person who values certainty and good work that's going to choose that. So you're actually increasing the likelihood they're going to be a great client. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And the other thing you can do too while you're doing that is not just the here and now. This is what we have. This is what needs to be cleaned up. This is what we're going to do moving forward. But also, if you're staying up on technology, which is a whole nother, we could do 7 hours on that. But the technology that you can implement to simplify their processes and simplify the work you're going to end up doing. Because you can look at it and go, oh, look, they've got a Square account. Oh, great. Guess what? I've got an app called Bookkeep. I don't know if you've ever heard it. I can take that. I'm not telling the client this. I'm saying this to myself. Listen, I know I can go in there and I can have sales being recorded on a daily basis without me touching it, because all you got to do is plug Bookkeep into the QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks, but I can plug it in. And I'm never going to have to post those transactions, but they're going to pay me $3,000 a month. They don't care how long it takes me to do the work. They just care that the work gets done and it's done right. If I can implement technologies and tools to facilitate that and make it easier for me, now we have a home run. And so Those are the things we can consider as we're evaluating. We can go, you know what? I'm going to charge $3,000 a month, and I know I can implement 3 apps right here. I know I can set them up on ADP, and that general ledger is going to post automatically. I'm never doing those journal entries. Somebody right now may be doing it for that client and costing them more money. So we can implement different types of systems to make the work less while we continue to make more, just like I was saying in the beginning.
I love it. I love it. So many great opportunities with that. This has been a fantastic conversation. I know we'll have you back. There's so much more we could do, multiple episodes here. Anything more to share about Designated Motivator, what's in the book? Really, we've already outlined several reasons why every listener should rush out and buy this book right now. Anything else you want to mention about the book?
Yeah, well, first of all, for your listeners, they can have it for free. They go to dawnbrolin.com. They can go ahead and join my email list or whatever. They got to do that thing first, and then they can get a copy of the book for free. Both books they can get for free. But really, in the book, like I said, the reassess your success is so important. I also put in there my tech stack, the tech stack that I use. I have what's called a starting lineup because I'm all about softball. I have a playing field where I show, and that's up on the website as well, the integrations between and how I can run my practice in a way, get my work done and be able to be on the softball field. So I give you my tips, my tricks. You can always reach out to me. I just really want everyone in the accounting industry. And if I can help one more person implement an application and that allows them to do more things. I had an interview on my podcast the other day with an awesome guy who implemented SmartVault. John Coleman implemented SmartVault, was actually able to attend all of his, it sounds simple, but implemented SmartVault for his tax practice, was able to go to a bunch of baseball games for his kids this year that he's never been able to do before because he's so much more efficient. Those are the stories I want to tell, and that I want to help people. So stay tuned. You go to, like I said, dawnbrolin.com. That my price list is up there. You can get a copy of that. I try to just give as much free resources out as I can.
I love it. That's fantastic. So you've got the book, you've got a bunch of free resources on dawnbrolin.com. And also you mentioned a podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's called the DM Disruption. I usually run them 15, 20 minutes long. They're up on my website as well on dawnbrolin.com, and they're on Spotify, and they're on Apple and all this other stuff. And I talk to practitioners, or I talk to solution providers who have great motivational stories, or we just talk through a topic, and just try to, get the word out to people that, you can really love your life in the accounting industry, and you can join me in the motivation movement to encourage each other to really just get better in their practices, do the best we can for our clients. At the same time, enjoy your life a little bit, get out on a ball field, go ride some horses, go to the beach, get on a boat, whatever it is you like to do, and enjoy your life along with growing a successful practice that you can be proud of.
I love it. I love it. So amazing. Dawn, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you for your generosity in the industry. You've not mentioned so many things that you're doing to give back. And this is one of them, your generosity coming on the show and sharing what you know in your history and experience. So thank you.
Well, I thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I hope if there's listeners out there, just, get your mindset straight, get it going on. You need motivation, you call me. I'm here. I will help you whatever way I can. And Michael, thank you so much for what you're doing as well. Your podcast is so successful. You're doing so much for so many people. And, that's really what life is all about, is just helping each other. So thank you again so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we're definitely having a lot of fun, and we can tell you are as well. So that's great. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.